Hello, folks. Is it Sunday, the 17th? Or is it the 18th? It's actually 1:04 a.m. on the 18th. But since I put this Tagaroony in place, and it happens to be, notice here, the 600th episode. 600. It's actually 599 public broadcasts and one private one. I haven't spent any time trying to figure out what the private one was. It was probably testing 1, 2, 3. Probably my first one. Yeah. Here I am in living color. Not much color, but I am living still. Although I'm in my 80s. And still am technically competent. Because, after all, I wired up this little miniature studio myself. And, what the heck? It takes a little compass mentis. What do you think? Yeah. All right. So you can see these counters. 2 minutes and 15 seconds of live broadcast. The time is 1:06. Almost going to be 1:07 in 3 seconds. 2, 1, go. It's 1:07 a.m. on the 18th. But, and there is the 18th. There we go. Yeah. So we know it's not Sunday the 18th. No, it's Monday the 18th. And of course, I always do my little digital magic here. We turn up the black point, and then we turn up the color all the way. Yeah, just to make that 18th stand out a little bit. Oh, there's one more thing we do before I forget. So we go here to crop. See, it's lopsided. So I'm going to touch that button up there, and then I'm going to touch this square button. See how that brought in the sides? So now we have Monday, May Madness. Yeah, that's right. Properly centered. Save. Make it make it the right kind of favorite photo. Go to the top of this list. So just out of, in case you have any husbands laying around all day long and you're up now in the middle of the night. Yep, the PGA Championship was on today. And actually 4 days in a row. And, Aaron Ray won the PGA Championship with a 3-stroke margin. Yep. And my buddy down there, way down, where the heck is he? Oh, there he is, Scotty Scheffler. Made $364,000 today. They hand out the checks tonight. He did not win the Wanamaker Trophy. although he is a past winner. But not this time. The best he could do was a -2. We had 2 rounds of 71, it's, look at that. Aaron Ray scored a 65 in his final round. He walks out with a check for $3,690,000. Number 2 and number 3 tied at -6, and they each get $1,804,000. So when I say, and I've said it often, look at that, a -5, that means 5 under par overall, about $800,000. A -6 gets $1,800,000. What's the difference between that? $1 million for a putt. One missed putt, one naked putt is $1 million. And if you were to, if somewhere like -8 and Aaron's at -9, and that missed putt, cost you, another $1.5 million. Yeah. So Rory McIlroy, the crowd favorite, par excellence, starting off with a 74. That's 4 over par, and he ended up overall 4 under par. So he fought back 8 strokes. It's a tough course, I'll tell you. And Aaron, I'll tell you what, he did good. He's from India, I believe. I believe that's an Indian flag. I don't know what city in India. But there's like a 1.4 billion people live in India. The population of India a couple years ago has exceeded the population of China by about 50,000 a couple years ago. So, one's 1.4 billion, and the other, China, is 1.35 billion. Like 50, 60, $70,000 difference between the two countries. But India has a big middle class of, like 500 million. Our country's population in total. That means people living on the street to people living in Madison Avenue. The best we could muster up is 340 million? India has a middle class bigger than our entire country. People don't realize that, there's a lot going on around the world other than the USA, although we're pretty strategic in a lot of ways. So anyone that sits around and say President Xi of China, is some kind of a moron, you're speaking through stupidity, because as Trump says, I'm not a big Trump quoter, but Xi gave Trump one glorious tour of the entire Chinese, places where regular people don't see these ancient trees and, back areas. And he spent a lot of time, over this 2-day trip. It was Really quite spectacular. Okay, here's a popular story here. How Aaron Lee outlasted golf's biggest stars. And that's it. I mean, you just look at that list. You had all the very best. This is a trophy everybody wants to take home. And there's just no, how did he do it? Well, he made some shots there. No, he sunk a 68-foot putt that was like up and down and around, and a big, like 4-foot arc went right smack in the middle of the hole. He didn't need that to win because he was a 3-stroke winner, but it just made the crowd just screamed. And these other players that were actually had better scores through 3 rounds, and Aaron did not play in the final grouping. He was like 4 groups back from the final grouping. And when that roar came out, I'm sure, the few people that were remaining, which was Rahm and Roy was already done. Well, let's go back here. John Rahm, Alex Schmally, Justin Thomas. Oh, God almighty. I mean, this guy just... He really did. He wiped up the very best golfers on the planet. Yesterday. So you say, well, who are the prior winners? Here they are. That's the obvious question of the day, right? It's the 108th Wanamaker. The Wanamaker Trophy. They give the players, they etch their names on the trophy by the chief etcher. And the trophies are made in England and shipped over in a special case. And so the trophy that the player holds up in the air, he gets to keep that and takes it home because there's an exact duplicate in that golf, headquarters there. So the guy in charge of the PGA would then hold on to the main trophy that stays, with the PGA Championship Committee, I guess. Maybe it stays in that clubhouse, for 11 months and then gets shipped until wherever the PGA Championship is played next year. But looking back, so you can see 2006, that's yesterday, Aaron Ray wins. The year before, guess who won? Scotty Scheffler, yeah. And then Xander Schauffele won it in 2024. Brooks Koepka in 2023. Justin Thomas, 22. Phil Mickelson, look at that. 2021, that's just, 5 years ago. Colin Morikawa, he won it in 2020. Brooks Koepka, look at that, won it again in 2019 and won it again in 2018. Wow, that's a total of 3 times he's won it at least. I haven't even gotten through the rest of the names on the... Yeah, wow. Oops. There we go. Yeah. I'm not done. Gosh darn it. I'm doing reverse pinching here so we can see the words. All right, so we have Brooks Koepka 3 times. There's Brooks Koepka again. Koepka, 3-time winner. Justin Thomas, he's won it again. He's up here somewhere, isn't he? Jason Day, Jimmy Walker, Rory McIlroy in 2014. So he hasn't won it in 12 years. So he was, he didn't do very well. He was like 5 back from the winner. I think he was -4. The winner was -9. Keegan Bradley, former captain of the, what do you call it team? Martin Kramer, Young En Yang. Sounds like a Chinese dish. Sorry, I don't know what he is. Tiger Woods, there we go. Tiger Woods. Phil Mickelson, look at that. So he won it. And what? And before the Tiger Woods bang bang, 2007 and 2006, Phil Mickelson wins it 2005 and 2021. Wow, 16-year difference. Anyway, that's quite an accomplishment. 2005, that's, 21 years ago. So that's so here's 2004, we got Vijay Singh. Let's get this up here. Richard Beam, David Toms, Tiger Woods. So it puts him in at least 4 times. Vijay Singh, look at that, he's in there again. A 6-year spread. Davis Love the third, yeah. Mark Brooks, Steve Elkington, Nick Price, Paul Azinger, Nick Price, John Daly, remember him? He was the big driver, big belly, long blonde hair. He's still playing. Payne Stewart. Jeff Sullivan, Larry Nicholson, Lee Trevino, remember him? His famous quote was, 95% of all short putts don't go in. It's hard to forget that little saying. So I'm trying to think back. When did Jack Nicklaus? Oh, there we go. There's Lee Trevino again. Hal Sutton. Ray Floyd, that's a familiar name, right? Larry Nelson. So here, 1980. Jack Nicklaus. I met him a long time ago. Nice. About 20 years ago. Nice man. You'd want him as your neighbor. I mean, it's just a nice, genuine guy. He's not full of himself a bit. I mean, he's 1980. Then you go 1975. There's Lee Trevino again. 1973. 1971. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's a 4-time winner. Unless there's more of him down here. I think that's 71. It was the first time he won that. That's as far back as I went. I went back to 1964. I figured, well, that's, you know. Gone back a lot of years. That's enough. Anyway, you can go on ESPN, their website, and look at more stories, lots of stories about the PGA Championship. It's one of the big four major tournaments in golf, the golf world, in the golf season. The Open Championship played over there in Scotland, Ireland. That's one. The U.S. Open, that's another one. So you got the Open, which is the English, version, the European version, and then they call it the Open. Oh, excuse me. And we have ours. They call it the U.S. Open. Here's my man Scotty, in case you forget what he looked like. He's like 29 years old. Yeah. From Texas. There's his famous flopping over on the ankle after his shots. So the latest thing we were looking at was, the Mega Millions. So no one won the May 15th one, which is a couple of days ago. Remember, it's Tuesday, Friday. Yeah. Tuesday, Friday. So Friday, this weekend, Friday, a few days ago, Friday, on the 15th, the $251 million to a single winner, that one. Winning number 17, 23, 25, 52, and 61. But the Powerball 3. No one won that one. So it rolled over. That's why it says roll over. Put a pin on that pin and roll over. Because that's what the Florida Lottery calls it. So it rolled over to what? 271 million. Let's just verify that. Here's Florida Lottery. Mega Millions. Whoa. If I'm not mistaken, it has increased to 277 million. I am confident it said 271 million a few days ago. Let's take a peek down memory lane. Mega Millions. Okay. We're going to go to the photo album. Close that. Oh, jeez. Let's go here. Let's go here. This, this little puppy dog looking up at me. Yeah. I'm looking for something that says 271 million, or is my eyesight just getting terrible? This is also Buzzable. Alright, let's see, I'm looking up. Alright. So, yeah, 277. That's what it is. I missed. I didn't do it right. Sorry. So let's go to numbers, which is the there we go. Let's make this a little bigger though, so I can fill the number in. Maybe that's, yeah, there it is. So I'm going to click on that right there. Double tap it. There it is. Change that 1 to a 7. Then press tab. Whoop, there we go. That makes a difference. You betcha. Don't cheat me out of that $6 million, baby. Of course, not to worry, because the official Florida people, so it went up 26 million from that. Tuesday, Friday. And there we go. So we're going to slide it right there. And I'm going to pull it down. I gotta watch both. Yeah. There we go. Now I do a print screen. You always wonder how I do this. You're getting a bird's eye view. Exactly how I do it, and I try to do it very carefully, because when you're dealing with a touch screen, you know, you have your fingers floating around on this thing. So now we got that done. Let's get out of here before I louse it up again. All right, so now we're going to go to the photo album, and that is no good anymore, because that says 271. So we're going to trash that. Yeah. And we're going to trash that. Yeah. Oops. 271. We got to trash that one. All right, let's go to the top here. Recently saved. Put a heart there. Okay. And I'm going to duplicate this one. So I'm now going to crop this, but I'm going to get rid of the annuity, the last two columns on right side of this. Hit and I'm going to touch this. It's the original. And then we're going to just come right over here. See where it goes. The horizontal and the vertical axes flow together so that the format between the two is the same. So when we go from here to here, we got the same amount of real estate. But you see the numbers are bigger for easier viewing when we're just talking about the jackpot. And if we want to look at the annuity payments, where you want to get 30 payments, where your first payment is $4,169,000, and your second payment is $4,377,000. So it takes you 29 years and a day to get to $277 million, where your first payment's $4,000,001, which that is not exactly chump change for your annual income this year, because you get that day one, and then 1 year later you get another $4,003,000, which is 105% bigger than $4,000,001. Well, it's 5% bigger because it's a 5% growing annuity. The problem solved is when the Mega Millions lottery people, when they come up. So how do they know what the first year, what that first payment is, so that all the subsequent payments are 5% growing? And when you add them all up, the 30 payments have to add up to exactly $277 million, because that's what the jackpot winner wins. Now, if you want the lump sum, you have to get a hold of the lottery people. Let's say, Jimmy, you got the winning ticket. I'm talking to myself. So I'm not giving anyone else advice. You're just eavesdropping. Well, Jimmy tells Jimmy what to do. So if you, on Tuesday, Friday. So on Tuesday, which is a couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, second day of this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Friday. Mega Millions is Tuesday, Friday, just remember that. That's why you see down the left edge there, Tuesday, Friday. The question is, how do you calculate that $4,000,001 figure? There's a big equation sticking underneath that number, which took me 2 weeks to figure it out, but I finally figured it out. Now, the Florida lottery people tell me 277. I think I just had, my not my best magnifying glasses, and just that last 7 looked like a 1. It's hard, that is to believe. But since I haven't actually had a broadcast like this since Friday, so no one ever heard me say the ugly words of 271, so I just was correcting that myself because I made a mistake. There we go. But as Jimmy was telling Jimmy, if I was the single winner in the jackpot, if there was 2 winners, you divide everything by 2. That's all. If there are 3 winners, as unlikely as that is, you just divide everything by 3. There's rarely 1 because it's a 290 million to 1 shot. You will not win this. So when you spend that $5 for a ticket to try to win Mega Millions, there's a real good chance you're not going to win. This is 290 million reasons to 1 that you will not. Yeah. But, Jimmy, know this, that you can't collect your prize winnings no sooner than 15 days from the draw date, which is, the draw date is Friday night, so let's just say. So that means Saturday morning, 2 weeks from Saturday morning, or 15 days from the draw date. It's either Wednesday morning or Saturday morning, plus 2 weeks. Because they got to collect all the money from, balance all the money out from the 200,000. I did a Google schmoogle and it was 200,000 individual lottery retailers across 45 states, the District of Columbia and the Virgin Islands, for 47 jurisdictions. There are 45 states. That means 5 states are not doing it for, whatever reason. You can't buy it in, maybe Alabama or something. There are a couple of southern states, a couple of western states, and Hawaii. They don't sell them either. So, Jimmy, the other thing is if you want the jackpot lump sum, in which case a $277 million jackpot to a single winner. Notice the column captions. So, this is just a photograph, a print screen. So I don't mind touching things when it's a photo. But when you're in that actual numbers application, which is the Apple version of a spreadsheet program, Excel. I've been an Apple person for 20 years now. When Daniel's son was 13 years old, he said, "Daddy, please don't buy us, another Windows computer." Because what I would do is I'd buy a Windows laptop, and then I'd pass it down to one of the kids. And then next year after that, I'd buy another brand new thing, and I'd give the other kid the one that I was using. So I keep handing me downing him. So every year I'd get a new one, and I'd rotate them around between Marilyn and the 2 boys, two local children, 2 non-local. They can buy their own computers. So that was when he was 13. He's now 30. That was 20 years ago. Actually, 34. It was 21 years ago. Anyway. So I switched over to Apple, 20 years ago. It was, a little painful because the file system is more open and, a Windows system, but it's more dangerous. Open schmopen. That means, people can hack you, pretty difficult to hack into Apple stuff. And there's over 2 billion iPhones in circulation presently, I'm told. And You know, you got iPads and MacBooks, and you know, I have an iPad Pro right here. It's a magnificent device. It's attached to their Magic Kingdom, the Magic Keyboard, which makes it just like, it's like a, when you have this, look at that, see the keyboard? I mean, raised keys, I mean, it is pretty nice. So trackpad thing in the middle, yeah. So it's like having a touchscreen, you know, MacBook Air. It doesn't have the same, you know, MacBook, this MacBook Air I have back here, this control device that runs the whole show here, goes through an application called, it's a software download called Ecamm Live. Ecamm.com. You can go there and look around. It makes, it rents its software for either like $29 or $19 or $39, depending on how you use it. If you want to send it out, there's a lot more reasons. But I send it out over 2 social networks simultaneously. And that would be Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And Facebook bombed out of this broadcast about 20 minutes ago. But they come back in. It's funny, I saw one where they left, and it was like there's a thing called jitter in the world of transmitting over the internet. And, you know, you have download speed, you have upload speed, you have the ping. The ping is where you send out a ping. It goes through the backbone of the web and then ricochets back to you, you know, like one ping only, as Sean Connery said at the Hunt of Red October. Just one ping only, and then you hear bong, and it would ricochet back against the metal hull of the Red October that was right above or below the other. They were like stacked, 2 submarines stacked on top of each other. I wonder why they couldn't see each other, because they were stacked on top of each other instead of in front or back of each other. Yeah. Anyway, so back to Jimmy telling Jimmy, if you want the jackpot in lump sum, assuming you had the single ticket, 277 million, the jackpot lump sum is estimated, it's roughly 45% of that other number, 125 million. So if you were, Jimmy, the grand prize winner, 125,330,000 in round numbers to the nearest 10,000. It's a Jimmy estimate, remember? It has nothing to do with official lottery numbers. But Jimmy, if you want the lump sum, you have to tell the lottery people within 60 days of the draw date. If you fail to do that and you have the winning ticket, then you must accept the 4,169,000 figure shown over here, and where it says first payment, all the way over here on the right side, right there, 4,169,000. So if you go in there on 61 days after the draw date and say, I want the lump sum, they're going to say, you had to be here yesterday. You're getting 4,169,000, sir. And a year later, you're going to get 4,377,000, sir. Those are the rules. They're on the back of your pay pad, pay, your pay slip, whatever, that paper you turn over to the lottery official with your $5. Unless you just said, quick pick me, then you don't. But on the back end of that pay thing, printed in pink ink, it says what I'm just saying to you, Jimmy. So you must tell the lottery officials within 60 days of the draw date that you want the lump sum, or else they're going to go out and buy the annuity. They're going to come up with whatever amount of money, because the net present value of the future cash flows of that lottery is $125 million. And they bid that out to big financial institutions. So they actually do the annual payments, and then they send it into Mega Millions, and Mega Millions sends it to you. So it's a deposit, basically, because it's an ACH credit. They don't actually give you a cashier's check for $4 million once. If you insisted, they probably would. But they tell you, bring your bank information, bring a sample check that shows the routing and transit number, which is the number for the, for the financial institution, your bank, where you have your checking account or savings account or whatever. And the same thing with this. Now, gosh darn it. I let go. I'm doing reverse pinching here. Because there's the $2 million. Whoops. So sorry. I have to shrink this up. Anyway. There we go. There we go. We gotta bring these walls in this way. Yeah. There we go. Sorry, folks. So now, yeah. So that 125 million, 330, that's the lump sum value of the jackpot. Now, you don't get paid that because the long arm of the federal government has the IRS has made a deal with the lottery officials that says there's a withholding tax on lottery payments. Because if you won $125 million, you're surely in the maximum tax bracket of 37%. So they figured, well, it's safe we'll withhold 24%. So the amount of money you're going to get in your checkbook is $95,250,000, not $125,330,000. But that $125,330,000, when TurboTax asks you, what was your annual income for 2026, Jimmy? You're going to say $125,330,000. Goes on line 1H. Now, TurboTax will put it in there for you, but they'll ask the question. Nice thing about TurboTax, it asks you 1,000 questions, and you answer them, and it puts the numbers all in the right little places on your tax return. So $125 million would be your annual income, assuming you had no other income. We have some income, but it's, a few decimal places over. But you're going to get. So when I give, Jimmy, when you give the routing and transit number and the account number for your checkbook, $95 million is going to show up overnight. Bam! It's going to hit the bank as a deposit into your account. $95 million. Whew. That's after the withholding tax. But it's not all the federal taxes, because you're going to be in the maximum tax bracket of 37.5%. See that over there? Column caption up there. There for that third column on this little. There we go. Show you those three numbers right there. So even though 125 million was that's the net present value. That is the value of the lump sum payout. You're not going to get that, because the long arm of Uncle Sam is going to take out 24%. So that 95 million is, in theory, 76% of 125 million, which is 95 million. The 24%, the IRS grabs and accounts for it in your tax year. Now you're going to be in a maximum tax bracket of 37%. So, Jimmy, assuming you didn't make any other money in 2026, you better put $16,292,000 of that 95 million. You better put that in the side pocket, because in April of 2027, when you do your tax return next year, Uncle Sam's going to be looking for you to send them a wire for $16,292,000. So you don't want to spend that out of that $95 million. Put it in a separate savings account and call it, whatever you want to. Jimmy W. IRS 2026 tax year. Yeah. Now, if you put it in an interest-bearing account at about 4%, you're gonna end up with 4 times 16, 64. About $600,000 in interest. Can you imagine? $600,000 in interest. Now you're gonna peel off. So you're gonna write him a check for $16,292,000 in round numbers. But so after all Fed tax, you live in Florida, Jimmy. There is no Florida income tax. So $78 million will be your jackpot less all federal taxes. And there are no state taxes on income in the state of Florida, Tennessee, and Texas. And there's another place. Yeah, that's 78 million. That's a lot of money. So, I got 4 kids. You give them 10 million each. So do what you want. You're all grown people. Don't be stupid. Look, you're going to have to pay income tax on the 10 million, which brings it down to $6,700,000 after tax, after all federal tax. Now, if you live in, some of these northern states, which my other 2 kids do, I have 2 kids down here, so give them 10 million, it's going to be 10 million. But the other 2 kids, one lives in Maryland, Oh yeah, that's a tax state for sure. So that will whack them for, they're going to have to pay 16 million. Wait a minute, they're going to have to pay, income tax. If I lived in Maryland, I'd not only pay 16 million to the U.S. government for my last 13%, because 24% was withheld. 13% more is needed to pay out the 37%, which is the total federal income tax, because that's the maximum bracket under Trump's big, beautiful bill. I think it went down from 39 to 37. But, a couple of percent here, a couple of percent there. What's another million among friends? But if you live in Florida, 78 million. So you have 4 kids, you send them each 10 million. So the 2 Florida kids, they get all 10 million. The one in Maryland and the other one in Richmond, Virginia, I think they have income tax on state income tax. You only have a federal tax, you have a state tax. So they're going to be paying out another 13% of their winning, which will be $1.6 million more. It goes out. So instead of $6,700,000, they're going to get $5,100,000. Wow, that's a reason to move to Florida. Declare annual. This is going to be your. Ask your tax guy how to do this. You got to live at least 180 days out of the year. 184 days, 185 days. More than half of a calendar year. There are 364 days in a year. So you do the math. So 180. Just live down here 190 days a year. You're going to be safe, Jimmy. And your tax guy will tell you how to do that so that you escape that extra, $1.6 million holdback that goes to the state of Maryland or the state of Virginia. Yeah, well, it's still, still get $5 million after tax. Yeah. That's why, people that live up in the Northeast, Massachusetts and all that. Massachusetts. I call it Taxachusetts. That between federal and state taxes, you pay 50% of your annual income to governments. Two governments. The state government and the federal government. So if you're in, the Northeast, and I give you $10 million. You're going to get half of it is going to be taken by federal and state tax. So a $10 million, present turns into a $5 million after tax. So you don't get 10 million, you get 5 million. Now the kids down here, you give them 10 million, they get 10 million because they live down here. There's no federal income tax. Well, excuse me, there is a federal income tax. So when I give my 2 Florida kids a $10 million check, assuming I was the lump sum winner, and I decided to do that, they'd get $670,000 of the 10 million. And there's no state tax, but they still have to pay the 37% tax. So on a $10 million situation. If 37% is the tax, then 63% of it is your money. That's 630,000. 6 million. Yeah. 6,300,000. And you'd have to pay $3,700,000 to Uncle Sam. So taxes are not 100%. They're 37%. But if you have a state income tax of 13%, that brings up between federal and state tax 50%. 37 plus 13 is 50. How terrible is that? Well, you live in Florida. You still got to pay your federal tax, but there's no state tax. So that's glad we made that little change there. $277 million. Now, it's a $290 million to one shot. You're not going to win that, Jimmy. So don't plan on winning it. But yeah, what the hell? Buy a ticket. It's like getting hit by lightning. Matter of fact, you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than you do by winning this lottery. But people go buy it anyway, self-included. Yeah. And I've been so self-absorbed. Look at this. I even produced this little spreadsheet and did the column captions and, did all this explanation stuff. So that when I'm explaining it to everybody in TV land or podcast land, it'd be easy to see. And you can see up here, right here in the very top, in italics in the bracket there, lump sum payout, after-tax payout, and all dollar values are estimates produced by the author, yours truly. There's no data presented have not been confirmed and not been endorsed by any lottery. No siree, Bob. I did this all on my own without any coaching. I just read the documents that are publicly available on Mega Millions and did some searches, the AI search on how many lottery retailers there are out there in the national scene. And decided to come up with this spreadsheet just so I could keep it. So twice a week I put the entries in here. So the jackpot has jumped 26 million from Friday to Tuesday. Now, notice on there, you see the very left hand, there's a blackness. And opposite Tuesday, Mega Millions, May 19, which that's the date for Tuesday, there's a number to the left of that, it says 18. That means that when they pick out the ping pong balls at 11 p.m. on the 19th, it'll be the 18th time they've done that. It's rolled over. You had the initial rolling, and then you had 17 rollovers to make the total of 18. That's why there's 18 lines. Then it goes 19, 20, 21, assuming, that no one would have won over, 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible lottery situations. 2, the May 15th actually happened, and no one won that one. So it rolled over to 277 million. That's the 18th week that this has happened. If no one wins on Tuesday, it goes to line 19, which would be the Friday date. No one wins that, it goes to the 20th line item. That's how that works. And this goes right across. And it's all formula driven. Because as soon as when I put that 277 in there, which comes right off the Florida Lottery Mega Millions thing, if you do it right. Remember I had 271 in there, I did it wrong. It's 277. I had a myocardial infarction. There's a little blockage to my brain. No, that is just a typo. Yeah, what are you going to do? That's the only number I actually type. It's either the 1723. Those are all print screens I've taken off the Florida Lottery thing. I don't even want to type that. Yeah, you do a typo there and say, I thought I was a winner and I'm not a winner. I threw my ticket away or I saved my dinner, whatever. I don't want to be in the middle of that. This is not official anything. So, I even had a type, I put 271 instead of 277. I wasn't trying to cheat anybody out of getting their payments. Because the Florida people don't call me for my results. This is just, if they did, this is what it would look like maybe. And it's all, it's all speculative in a sense, because no one has actually won this 277 yet. This is just if you did win it, that would be the lump sum amount within 10,000 bucks, within $100,000. You round up, round down. What's a million among friends, as they say, or so. And so if that 125 million number means anything as a lump sum, then the 95 million is what's going to get deposited in your account. To the nearest $100. And then Uncle Sam's going to come after you for the other 16 million a year later. So put that in the side pocket. So your 95 is in your regular checking account. And then the 16 million goes on a savings account. So you segregate it away from, check writing. Because you don't want to give away any of that 16 million. You need that for Uncle Sam. Because you're only, after all federal tax, you're really entitled to that 78 million number. So make sure that 16 million is in a safe place. You may put that in a savings account and, go to Truist Bank and open up an account and put it in there. Keep it away from your general checking account so that there's no mistake. Because the IRS will get very cranky if you run off with their 16 million. Yeah, but what the heck? You get 78 million. You get 78,960,000. That's not a bad payout. That's what you get out of 277 million. 78 million. The 200 million goes everywhere else. You get the 78 million, and they get the 2 million. Can you believe it? 200 million goes everywhere else. You get 78 million. Now that's the difference between getting the full payout in 29 years. This is happening day one. But Uncle Sam takes 24%, so that's why you get 95. And I actually showed the tax. I didn't show the tax between here and here. You can just do the math. It's roughly 30 million bucks. Which makes sense. 95 from 125 is 30 million. So I don't have a column there for that. But you have columns on your columns. You get too many columns. But I did show this because I want to emphasize to Jimmy that that number is entrusted to you because they withheld that 30 million out of that 125 because that's the withholding tax. Like you have a withholding on your payroll account if you were, a salaried employee in somewhere. And, you make $5,000 one month and they keep $1,000 and you get $4,000, whatever. It's a withholding on the payroll account. Well, this is a withholding on the lottery winnings, jackpot winnings. 13%. They expect you to pay that out when you do your tax return in 2027 by April 15th. And you'll end up with about $600,000 in interest. You put that in a 4% account. And Truist, I got a memo from Truist. You open up an account with them, they'll pay you 4% on a money market account. Has to be an account at least $25,000 or more. Well, 16 million is more. I don't know if there's a limit on how much they'll take at 4%. But that's a $16 million deposit. What the hell? That's a half a branch. A small branch is 30, 40 million. And your average bank these days with branch banking. A big branch would be 200, 300 million, 400 million, $1 billion. A small branch could be 35, 40 million. Well, if I call TD Bank and say, oh, by the way, I won this jackpot. And remember, this 95 million, that's what they're going to credit your account with. Because you got your routing and transfer number and your account number, and the lottery officials, bam, they're going to hit the button and you're going to have 95 million in your checkbook by the time you get home. Wednesday, 15 days from the draw date. Not any sooner. Yeah, so you show up 15 days from the draw date, which is 2 weeks from this coming Tuesday. So that's Wednesday, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Wednesday. Wednesday to Wednesday. Wednesday to Wednesday. Yeah. That's the soonest you can get your lump sum, which is this 95 million figure. The 86, that was the lottery that no one won on Friday night. So it has grown to where you can win 95 million instead of 86 million. Yeah. And instead of having to put 14.7 million in the side pocket for the next April tax, you put 16,292,000. But you'll still end up, after all that, with 78,960,000. That's Jimmy's estimation. Jimmy, that's my estimation. Big news politically is Bill Cassidy has been primaried out of the U.S. Senate. There's three people that run in a primary for the 2026, November 2026 Senate seat in Louisiana, because Bill Cassidy, his term is up. And so two other candidates, two other Republican candidates, went in to run against Bill Cassidy for that Senate seat. So there were three in the race, and if a candidate doesn't get 50% or more of the vote, then if they get more than 50%, then there's no runoff. And that person then would run against the Democrat in November. But in the 3 or 4 or 5-way race, in the 3-way race in this case, 3 of them ran. One of them got 45%, another one got 28%, another one got 25%. And Cassidy was on the smallest number of the three. And they only take the top 2 of the 3, or the top 2 of the 4, or the top 2 of the 5. No matter how many candidates are there. They take the top 2, and they have a runoff with the top 2. And then the winner of that will be the Republican that'll run against the Democrat in November. And since Cassidy was not one of the top 3, he wasn't in the top 2. He was the last one, because he had the 25% toll. Another gentleman had 28%, I think. And then this young lady got like 45%. Wasn't 50, so since she got 45, there'll be a runoff between her and this other guy. And the smart people in Louisiana have already decided that that young lady is likely going to win that seat, and that Trump had endorsed her the day before the election of the primary. And and the reason why they were basically kicking Cassidy out of the Senate, because he voted to impeach. Impeachment is the indictment by the House. And then you get tried by the Senate, and the Senate votes for the removal from office. That's like the execution of the indictment, which is the impeachment. So impeaching doesn't remove the person. It's like the indictment. Like if you get indicted for some crime, heaven forbid, by a grand jury. Well, the impeachment is like the grand jury is the House of Representatives, and they vote to impeach you. And that's a simple 51% majority, I believe. Yeah. So you can indict a ham sandwich. Anyway, Trump was indicted, but not removed from office. But Cassidy was one of the Republicans that voted for removal. And apparently the Louisiana people remembered that fact. And of course the media reminds you in case you forgot. And that's the big political news of the week. Other than Trump and half his cabinet flying out to China to get this grand tour of the whole Chinese, beautiful things in China. Yeah. My mother was, I'm over 80 when you're talking about my mother. You're talking about a long time ago, right? She was very enamored with China before it was thought of. I'm talking about 50, 60 years ago when I was a 10, 20-year-old. And, children and their moms always seem to, my mother would call me every day and read me my horoscope. Every single day she'd track me down in my offices, wherever the hell I was officed over 25, 30 years. And she'd read to me my horoscope. Like it was out of the Bible. She'd read it to me. Now listen, Jimmy, I want you to pay attention to this. And she'd read me my horoscope. Don't do this and don't do that and don't get near a ladder, No. Kidding, whatever it said. There's a couple of articles. Who has won the PGA Championship all-time winning list? I just showed you that. And how Ronald Ray outlasted some of the golf's biggest stars. He did. Yeah, when he won by 3 strokes. My God, unbelievable. This is Korean Dates. This is like a big advertisement breaking up these 2 articles, these 4 articles, or links, on burying this list and that list and that list, which I already showed you all that. So if you're wondering why she's stuck in there, because that's what came up on the ESPN site. You don't believe me? Let's show you. Oof. Right. Oh, see, now they got a different advertisement in the middle. EOS something or other. At the time when I did the print screens, it was the Korean Dates lady that came up between the. And now when you do print screens, let's go back to. I'm on ESPN. Let's get rid of that. Now I'm going to go back to my photo album. There it is. You can't touch on those links when you do a print screen. There's no hyperlink data underneath that little type paragraph. Nor if I touch this Korean beauty, it doesn't go to whatever that advertisement is underneath that. You can just tell it's a hyperlink for Korean dates. If you want to date attractive, young, 25-year-old Korean girls who are looking to get somebody to marry them so that they become U.S. citizens. I guess you live in South Korea. There's 3 more articles. How Alan Ray outlasted golf's biggest stars. And then there's a little paragraph there, but you can touch that, and there's a whole story underneath that could be several pages. Rory McIlroy has heated exchange with a fan at the PGA Championship because they were screaming USA, to the European. Yeah, he gets constant aggravation between him and the crowds, and some people that are in the U.S. crowds that follow, they're sitting at the 16th tee box, in a big private elevated tent. And he was sipping tequila all day long. So by the time Rory comes around by the 16th tee box, these guys are screaming down at him, USA, USA. And of course, Rory bites, which is a mistake, because now it encourages these characters to keep screaming at him, Yeah, the Ryder Cup was, very embarrassing. Which was played out on Long Island, which you got a bunch of real crazy New York drunks that were beating this Rory up on the Ryder Cup. This is all European team members in the Ryder Cup playing the all USA team members. It's a golf tournament that's held every 2 years. So it was over here last year, so next year it gets played over in Europe somewhere. So they'd be screaming national slogans back to the opposing teams in the Ryder Cup. That's a good tournament, where the golfers are playing for their country instead of themselves. Although there is a cash payout, I think, of some sort for the winning team. It's more than just prestige. It is a payday. Anyway, if you're wondering what these guys get, it was a $20 million purse. And Aaron Ray, who was, there's always a winner. If it was tied to win, then they have a playoff, and someone wins the playoff. But in this case, he was 3 strokes ahead. So he was -9, and the next guy closest to him, John Ram, and Alex Smalley, each had a share of second place, so they split second place. And then what they do in that case, you see, one is -9, and they have 2 people at -6, and 3 people at -5. So now you'll see the prize money, what they do, like the people that tied for second place, Ram and Smalley, what they do is they take the second place prize and the third place prize, add them together and divide by 2. And that's how they come up with $1,804,000. And Aaron Ray, he won $3,690,000. That's the check that he walked out with today. Or yesterday. Saturday. Yeah, or Sunday. It's now Monday, but Sunday afternoon, I guess at dinner, there's a big dinner following this trophy presentation and everything. It's a dinner, and they basically hand out the checks going right down the list. And my buddy Scotty Scheffler was at -2, so that was tied for. There was 3 people at -2. There were 4 people. Yeah. So they tied for 14th place. And they got $364,000. That's what Scotty got. 4 of them. See, they take the 11, 12, 13, 14, those 4 players, which had 278 strokes between the 4 days. And it was 2 under par. And they get $364,000. 4 people that tied the next position up, they get 496,000. Talk about that putt. Yeah, I keep on saying when I was talking to my family and friends when they were watching us. And when you get down the road a little bit, a putt costs $130,000. Look at the difference between 277 and 278 is one putt out of the 4 days. So when you miss a putt by a half an inch or something or other, that could be a $150,000 item. Look at this when you get from 277 to 276. There's 3 people in that category. Yeah, it's almost $180,000. When you go up the line here, they get very expensive when you miss a putt. $190,000. Well, here it's $208,000. And then, of course, 275 as opposed to 274 strokes. That one stroke is $1 million. See, it went from 800,000 to $1.8 million. So what I keep on telling my folks, that's $1 million putt. You wonder why their knees are knocking, $1 million. You miss a putt by a quarter of an inch, it costs you $1 million if you're up at the top of this stratosphere here. Now here, this guy here, he was 3-stroke. So that's 3 putts. $700,000 a putt. Yeah, when you get to the top of this list, it's like what my grandfather used to tell me. You climb the top of the ladder, when the wind blows, it gets a little breezy up there at the top of the ladder. Yeah, anyway, so this list is produced by ESPN, the authority of the PGA Championship people. CBS, ESPN, anyway. So they publish this on this website, they publish these numbers. The last row is FedEx points. This is after, so let's see what is. I'm not too sure what that last column is. I ought to crop it out of this picture because I don't even know what to say about it. So let's, whoops. I have to get a full screen mode for everything. There we go, there's the hole. And I'm gonna just come right in here. Whoops. Put it back in freeform. There we go. And just take out that last column because I don't even know how to discuss it. I don't know what it means, so save myself a little aggravation and just not even display it. There we go. So now that column is officially gone. Yeah. So I'm trying to, come in and show you. There we go. Yeah. There it is without the FedEx column. I don't know how to describe it, so since you don't know what it is, get it out of there. Yeah, Scotty was he just didn't seem to have it in him this tournament. He played, the first time, he's like 3 under par for the day one, which was good. But he was 1 over on day 2 and he's 1 over on day 3, and he's 1 under on day 4. I mean, you can't win a match at -2 over 4 days. And it's obviously a very difficult course. He was even going down to 14th place. There's 7 strokes between that bridge. And it was mostly, Ray improved himself because, when the day started, all these names were mixed around. It was like anyone's match, with the 5 holes to go, pretty much. And then it's just Aaron Ray pulled away 3 strokes ahead. He was 1 stroke ahead of everybody for 5 holes. And then he sunk that really long 68-foot putt, which, that's a big putt. It's 20 or 30 paces, 20 or 30 yards away. Drained it right in the middle of the cup. I mean, usually anyone that putts that 68 feet, it's poking hope. You hope you get it within an 18-inch circle around. You don't expect it to go in. If it goes in, hey, marvelous. You try to hit for the bullseye, but if you get it within an 18-inch radius of the center hole, that's good, because that means you tap it in for 2 strokes, one to get close and the next one to put it in the cup. You don't really expect to sink a 68-foot putt, but happened to do it. And it just threw him 1 extra stroke ahead. You don't get bonus money for that. You don't get privileged by completely annihilating. If he was like a 10-stroke victor. There had been tournaments like this where they were like 7, 8, 10 strokes ahead. Not this one, just 3 strokes. Usually when it's like 10 strokes ahead, the winner, I mean, I remember Scotty Scheffler when he won some tournaments last year. He might have been 8 or 10 strokes ahead, but it was at like -29, 29 under par, so be -29 up here instead of -9. So every day you're 5 or 6 under par. It's a 4-day tournament. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Anyway, so that's the end of the whole PGA story. See, here's how it was in the beginning of the day. This is the winter tee, and this is the tee-off times of today. See, and it was -6, -4, -4, -4, -3s and -2s. So he was 2 strokes ahead at the beginning of the day and ended up three strokes ahead. But instead of Alex Smiley being, see here, he was 2 strokes ahead. But see down here, tied for second, Alan Ray. He was -4 and he ended up being -9 at the end of the day. And these other guys ended up being -6. So it was really anyone's, this whole top 7 or 8 people completely turned upside down. Amazing.
It's 2:45.
All right. It's 2:45 a.m. Been yakety-yakking here an hour and 40 minutes. It's probably enough, don't you think? So, I haven't had anyone call in and say, get off. But it could come. You never can tell. Make that full screen mode. So this is, oh, look at that. I had chicken and ribs at Houston's. How nice. Today. And then yesterday we were at Mario's, right? So we're sitting at the end of the bar in Mario's inside. And I'm sitting at the corner. So Marilyn gets up, goes to the ladies' room. So now I got a seat empty on my left and a seat empty over my right. But on my right side is where Marilyn is, so her seat's saved for Marilyn. But the seat on my left was open. So this lady comes in. She says, is this seat taken? I said, yes. She says, well, how about that seat? That seat's open. So she jumps in that seat. And I look over at her, and who is it? It's Christine Lynn. She just finished up the Lynn University, Lynn. And I said, a lady like you shouldn't be walking in here unescorted. At least you have a security team, don't you? You just walk in here all by yourself and say, is the seat open for one person? And you order spaghetti and meatballs? I said, you should order something more dainty than that. Sure as hell is Christine Lynn. Probably the highest valuable, she's like a half a billionaire. I'll bet. I Googled her and it said 300 million. Well, they never know. So you figure it's at least 500 million. She's, huge philanthropic activities in Palm Beach County and with the Lynn University and Lynn Cancer Institute and, the FAU campus. She basically funded, tens of millions of dollars in for the FAU College of Nursing. That's hers, and Lynn University itself, Ken Ross, father and son, are the president of Lynn University, but it's the Lynn family. Christine Lynn now, has produced huge amounts of money into Lynn University. They graduated 1,000 people, she told me, and with 6,000 guests, and had to handle all the, the machinations of housing 6,000 people that come into the area for the graduating ceremony. I guess that would be Saturday night, yes. Because that was our, late lunch, early dinner. And Christine Lynn so I was chatting with her and Marilyn comes and she's looking at me and I'm here having a conversation with Christine Lynn. I said, Marilyn, I've decided I'm running off with this woman. Go find yourself another husband. It's funny. Yeah, me and my big mouth. There it is, Christine Lynn. Google Lynn University, the Lynn Insurance Group. Born May 1947. I'm 45. March. So I'm 2 years and 2 months older than she is. Net worth 300 million. I'm worth 30 cents. Source of wealth, Lynn University, Lynn Insurance Group. You know, her husband died and she survived. And primary residence, she owns a 49.9 meter super yacht, the Norwegian Queen, maintaining a long-time residency in Boca Raton. Philanthropy. Serves as the chairman of Lynn University Board of Trustees. Yeah, so she's active. She's all compass mentis, you know, all shooting on all barrels. But, you know, for someone that has a high net worth like that, to be driving her own car and not having a security team and just coming into, you know, Mario's, for God's sakes, at 6 o'clock. And what does she order? And I said, and after all this, you order spaghetti and meatballs? I said, come on, can't you think of a more dainty dish? You know, like a whatever, you know, Italian. Nope, spaghetti and meatballs, that's her favorite deal. I'm the same way. I said, hey, I had shrimp scampi. Yeah, it's not much difference. So we bought her dinner. Marilyn says, we're buying your dinner. We're not letting you buy your own spaghetti and meatball dinner. We're going to pay for it. We told the bartender, put her meal on our ticket. Yeah. So, I don't know what the hell she drank. Was it a glass of wine or what? Waiting for her spaghetti and meatball dinner to show up. And she ate about half of it, and the other half, you know, froze, because I kept on talking to her and she couldn't eat. So mine got cold and hers got cold. Yeah. Well, we were yakking back and forth. Anyway, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. This is the 600th episode that you can see on youtube.com/@FAU4U. Of course, I've been on the faculty at FAU for 23 years as adjunct faculty. Facebook. Yeah, also Facebook Live. Facebook/@FAU4U. Same handle on both, what do you call them? Because I signed up for them like 15 years ago. FAU, the number 4U. FAU for you. How great is that? Yeah. The 600th episode. It's $5.99, $5.98. You can see it in the thing. So tomorrow's, or this is Monday, so Tuesday night there'll be a late night edition of this because it's Mega Millions. This is a carryover from Friday because I haven't been feeling well. And I never got a chance to do Friday night's late night episode because I wasn't feeling well. I had a telemed call with my primary care, and he prescribed several medicines for me, which I started taking Friday evening when Marilyn got home and brought them to me from the Publix pharmacy. And so by midday today, I was on those meds for 3 days. I feel a whole lot better now, which which is why I'm talking to you. Or else I would still be under the weather. Yeah. The magic of doxycycline and a little prednisone, 20 milligrams 3 times a day, doxycycline 100 milligrams twice a day. So about 4 or 5 days of that, and wham bam, goodbye ma'am, that cold business is over. Yeah. So, with that happy thing, I'm going to go full screen on this time and date. Or day, year, month, whatever. There it is. It's a thing of beauty, isn't it? Take that, do a print screen right off my iPhone. And I'll talk to you probably Tuesday night. Now, this is Monday, in theory. Everyone's sleeping except for me. Well, the puppy is sleeping down there. Yeah, we'll cuddle up together and sleep on the couch. We won't disturb Marilyn. Yeah. And you all have a nice evening. So these late night things, some of my friends in California or out west, they tune in and it's only like midnight there. Whereas on the East Coast, it's 4 minutes away, 3 minutes away actually. If you look at that, oh, you can't see it now. Nope. Yeah, 3 minutes away from being 3 a.m. See if I can get out of here before it's 3 a.m. I just push some buttons and turn it off and do a nighty-night. Go to the bathroom and powder my nose. All right, so have a wonderful day. The beginning of your business week. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Maybe one of you guys will win the Mega Millions, $277 million grand prize. You want that lump sum? Get in there before 60 days. On the 61st day, you're going to get the annuity, like it or lump it. And if you don't get in there within 180 days, your ticket is void. So, to get the annuity, you got to get in there before 180 days. To get the jackpot lump sum, you got to get in there before 60 days. But you can't get the money any sooner than 15 days from the draw date. Those are all the kind of little date stuff I recall. But let your financial advisor tell you all that after you've won the ticket. Since you would have won 277 million, albeit you didn't get the money yet, you can find a financial advisor to give you some qualified advice on how to get your hands on that $277 million. Bye-bye.